In a snowy forest, one man sets out to build a small house almost entirely from free shipping pallets. Pallets are a common industrial waste product. Millions are discarded each year, yet most are made from strong softwoods like pine or spruce and can support loads of 1,000 to 2,000 kilograms when new. By reclaiming them, he reduces cost and keeps usable wood out of landfills. Working in winter might look harsh, but frozen ground provides a firm base. Insects are inactive, and snow can even highlight level differences on the site. From the start, every cut and nail is aimed at turning a rough transport platform into a weather-resistant, insulated shelter. He begins by turning loose pallets into a rigid floor. Each pallet is essentially a pre-made wooden truss, deck boards on top, stringers in the middle, and blocks or runners beneath. By trimming and squaring them with a handsaw, then locking them together with nails or screws, he prevents individual pallets from shifting under load. In a snowy forest, ground is often uneven and soft underneath, so a solid floor spreads the weight of furniture and the builder himself. Notice how he checks alignment as he goes. Even a 2-centimeter tilt can cause doors and windows to stick later. Building a flat, stiff base is one of the most important steps for any small cabin, no matter the material. As the frame rises out of the misty forest, he is not just stacking wood randomly. The vertical posts and horizontal beams form a simple box frame that must resist wind and snow loads. Snow can easily weigh 100 to 200 kilograms per square meter on a roof, so even a small building needs a sound structural skeleton. He braces corners and ties pallets into the frame so they act as sheathing, helping the walls resist sideways racking and strong winds. Working alone, he chooses hand tools, a handsaw, hammer, and a staple gun because they are reliable in cold conditions where batteries can quickly lose capacity. Every decision balances simplicity, strength, and what he can realistically lift and fasten by himself. Alongside the wooden frame, he gathers stones and bricks to build a low wall and a fireplace base. Rock and brick do two important jobs here. They spread the load from the stove or chimney onto the ground, and they act as thermal mass. Dense materials like stone and fired brick absorb heat from a fire, then slowly release it after the flames die down, helping to smooth out temperature swings. He lays rocks into a bed of soil and gravel, then adds mortar between bricks to lock everything together. Good mortar completely fills gaps, preventing smoke leakage and protecting the bricks from cracking when they heat and cool. The circular metal insert he embeds in the brickwork is likely for a stovepipe or cleanout, a key detail for safe ventilation. In winter conditions, warmth is not a luxury, it is a safety measure. Lighting a small stove lets him warm his hands, dry damp gloves, and melt snow for hot drinks, which helps maintain body temperature and concentration. Even a short break with tea or hot water reduces the risk of cold-induced mistakes with saws and axes. You can see how he organizes his tools: saw, knife, staple gun, so they are easy to reach without searching through snow. Cold steel can become brittle at very low temperatures, so smooth, controlled cuts and avoiding hard knots helps keep blades from chipping. Managing energy, both his own and the fire's, is as much a part of this build as cutting and nailing wood. Once the frame is stable, he starts adding a white sheet material to the outside. This acts as a windbreak and basic moisture barrier, similar to house wrap on conventional buildings. By stapling it tightly and overlapping seams, he reduces drafts that would otherwise pull warm air out through the many gaps in pallet wood. Only after blocking the wind does he go back to positioning more pallets, fastening them so they create thicker walls. Pallets alone have many voids and are not airtight, so the combination of sheeting outside and insulation later on is what makes this simple structure livable in freezing temperatures. As he moves to the roof, the priority is shedding snow and keeping meltwater away from the pallet walls. A pallet roof must be carefully covered, because any trapped water will quickly rot the thin deck boards. He adds plastic sheeting and wood planks, creating a simple layered system: structural pallets below, a waterproof membrane in the middle, and protective boards on top. Even a modest slope is enough for snow to slide and water to drain, but the roof connections must be strong enough to resist wind uplift. In many cold regions, building codes recommend roofs to handle snow loads exceeding 200 kilograms per square meter. While this is a small off-grid cabin, the same principles of secure fastening and continuous coverage apply. Working with recycled pallets means no two boards are exactly alike. You can see him measuring lengths carefully, then cutting and fastening to adapt each piece to the design. A measuring tape, handsaw, and manual stapler or nailer are enough to turn rough, uneven lumber into usable components. The close-ups reveal cracked and weathered surfaces, but structurally, pallet wood is often sound if rot and deep splits are avoided. Worldwide, billions of pallets circulate every year. Many are made from low-grade lumber that cannot be used for furniture, but is perfectly adequate for walls and non-critical framing in a small shelter like this. As he stacks and fixes more pallets, the cabin's walls and window openings become clear. Window cutouts are more than cosmetic. They provide daylight, reduce the need for lamps, and allow moisture to ventilate, which is important when burning a stove inside a very small volume. However, each opening slightly weakens the wall, so you can see extra framing added around the edges to transfer loads around the gap. In cold climates, the glass or covering used later will influence heat loss significantly. Even a simple double layer of plastic film can reduce heat loss compared to a single layer by trapping a thin cushion of air. Inside, he pays special attention to the fireplace and chimney. By surrounding the metal insert with brick and mortar, he keeps high temperatures away from the wooden pallet walls. This is a basic fire safety principle. Create a non-combustible buffer around hot flue pipes. Many traditional stoves require at least 30 to 60 centimeters of clearance from wood. Using brick reduces that requirement and adds thermal mass. When you later see smoke exiting the chimney, it shows that the flue is drawing correctly, carrying combustion gases outside instead of leaking indoors. For any small off-grid cabin, controlling where heat and smoke go is as critical as sealing drafts. After major structural work, he turns to cooking, preparing meat, bread, and vegetables on a simple stove. In winter, cooking serves two purposes: providing calories and adding gentle heat and humidity to the indoor air. Fats and carbohydrates supply dense energy that helps the body stay warm, while warm food and drinks reduce the strain of working in sub-zero temperatures. The compact cooking setup, cast iron pan, kettle, and a small fire uses minimal fuel, which is important when every log must be cut and split by hand. Cast iron spreads heat evenly and retains it well, making it ideal for rustic kitchens, where temperature control is done by moving pans closer to or farther from the flame rather than adjusting a knob. Back inside the shell, he begins to fill the cavities of the pallet walls with straw and hay. Plant-based insulation like this has been used for centuries in rural buildings. On average, straw bales provide an R value of around 2.5 to 3 per inch, similar to some modern fibrous insulations, though here he is using loose fill rather than compressed bales. The key is to pack the material densely enough to reduce air movement, but not so tight that moisture cannot dry out. By layering straw deep into the walls and ceiling, he creates a thick insulating blanket around the living space. The outer plastic and pallet boards handle wind and impact, while the straw slows heat loss from the warm interior to the freezing forest outside. As the interior becomes warmer and quieter, he focuses on details like the door frame and hinges. Accurate joinery at the entrance is important. A poorly fitting door will leak heat and can jam as the structure settles or wood swells with moisture. He alternates between coarse tools like an axe for rough shaping and finer tools like a saw and screwdriver for precision. This combination is common in traditional carpentry. Remove bulk material quickly, then refine. Installing hinges on solid wood, not on thin pallet boards, ensures they can handle repeated opening and closing without tearing out. Small adjustments now, such as shaving a few millimeters from a binding edge, will make daily use smoother once the cabin is in regular use. With the basic shell in place, he starts adding interior features such as simple shelves built from pallet boards. Storage is critical in a very small footprint. Lifting items off the floor frees space for sleeping and moving around. The shelf is secured directly to the pallet framing, which spreads the weight across several boards instead of relying on a single nail point. Even light items like food, tools, and lanterns can add up, so using multiple fasteners and checking level helps prevent sagging over time. This is a good example of using the existing pallet geometry, horizontal slats, and vertical supports to anchor new elements without adding complex hardware. Outside, you can see the walls gaining more definition as he adds planks around the windows and tightens the exterior cladding. This extra layer protects the plastic and straw inside from ultraviolet light and mechanical damage. Proper window framing also helps direct any water away from the wall cavity, reducing the chance of rot. By this stage, the house has all major elements: insulated walls, a roof, openings, and a functioning stove. The remaining work focuses on durability and comfort, smoothing edges, closing gaps, and making sure snow and rain have as few ways as possible to enter the structure. It now appears as a complete small cabin with smoke rising from the chimney and logs stacked nearby. This marks the transition from a temporary work site to a functioning shelter. Inside, lanterns replace daylight and the focus shifts to food on the stove and a set table, all signs that the building is now supporting daily life. Small off-grid houses like this demonstrate how limited resources, scrap wood, local stone, and natural insulation can become a weather-resistant space when combined thoughtfully. The key is always the same: control water, manage heat, and plan storage and movement within a very compact volume. Later, the builder finally sits to eat by lantern light, then lies down on a simple bed frame also made from pallets. This rest is part of the project, not separate from it. Sustainable work on remote builds requires managing fatigue and warmth just as carefully as wood and nails. The sleeping platform lifts him off the cold floor, reducing conductive heat loss to the ground. A sleeping bag and extra layers of insulation around the walls turn the rough structure into a comfortable microclimate, even while snow continues to fall outside. The contrast between the quiet winter forest and the warm interior shows that the design has done its job. He adjusts lanterns, rolls up a mat, and shoulders his backpack, showing that even a hand-built cabin can remain a low-impact presence in the forest. By using primarily reclaimed pallets, loose stone, and plant-based insulation, most materials are biodegradable or reusable. If one day this structure is dismantled, much of it can return to the environment with relatively little waste. Throughout the project, careful measurement, simple tools, and an understanding of heat, moisture, and load paths turn discarded materials into a functional winter shelter. The surrounding snow-covered trees remind us that, in cold climates, good design is about working with the environment rather than against it.